me, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the posting of the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance. Sergeant Jones, post your colors.
Color guard, by ones, forward, mark. Detail, halt. Colors, side step, steps. Post colors, post. Present. Arm.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arm. Color guard, read, cover. Colors, side step, steps. Close ranks, close. By ones, forward, mark.
Please be seated. Thank you. Reverend Supper, please come forward, our department chaplain, for invocation. What a wonderful occasion to honor so many people in great appreciation for your service and your dedication and your loyalty to this county and to the citizens of this great county. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Father, it's with great privilege that we come to this place tonight to recognize and honor many distinguished recipients of these awards that we have to offer tonight. Some civilian, some officers. And we just want to stop and say thank you for keeping safe all law enforcement officers, Lord, this past year. We ask that you would continue to keep your hand of protection upon families that are represented here by law enforcement and all civilians. Lord, we are blessed in this county of ours to enjoy the beauty that you have created for us to enjoy. Lord, I ask that you would make each one of us here tonight grateful and thankful and joyful, because this is a grand occasion to celebrate great exploits. We pray all these things in your most powerful name, the name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Semple. I'd like to start off by thanking everyone for attending tonight, here to support the outstanding members of the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office, our neighboring law enforcement partners, and many of our community members that are here tonight. I'd like to also recognize some of our dignitaries that we have in the crowd tonight. If you could please wave when called. We have Honorable Judge Michael Hollowitz, 72nd District Court. Honorable Judge John Monahan, 72nd District Court. Honorable Judge Cynthia Platzer, 72nd District Court. County Administrator Bill Kaufman. County Commissioner Tom Riley, District 4. County Commissioner Carl Tomian, District 2. County Commissioner Bill Gaydrop, District 7, Chair of the Judiciary. Ron Wooleen, Portland Area School District, Superintendent. And from Drug Enforcement Administration, Detroit, Darrell Help, Assistant Special Agent in Charge. James Allen, Associate Special Agent in Charge. Jason Schumacher, Group Supervisor. Also, Portland Police Department, Captain Jeffrey Baker. U.S. Border Patrol, Bill Burke, Patrol Agent in Charge. Clay Township Police Department Chief, Donald Drake. And Portland Industrial Healthcare, Carter Heinzman, Director. Thank you all for attending and supporting here. I also want to recognize our executive staff, starting with Under Sheriff Thomas Buckley, Captain Ronald Muxwell, Captain Thomas Bliss, and most importantly, Andrea Blair, and Tracy DeCossin, who put in a tremendous amount of work for this program. I can tell you they just put it all together and we just stand up here and talk, so we could not do it. Thank you so much. I also want to recognize our awards committee. We do this every year, and they choose to remain anonymous, and for good reason. But on that committee, we have a supervisor from Corrections Division, Patrol Division, Patrol Deputy, Corrections Deputy, and Marine and Dive. So we have a good core group of individuals from the organization. They look very hard at these awards, and I can say that a lot of them are turned down because they have high value. If it doesn't meet the certain standard, we don't give it out. So it may not seem like a ton of awards, but they really mean something to the people that are getting these awards. And with that, I also want to express to the employees and the citizens, as your sheriff, I couldn't be prouder to stand up here and represent this organization. I look forward to this day every year to hand out these awards to our partners, our employees, and our citizens. So with that, we're going to start with the Civilian Commendation Award. This is awarded to individuals or organizations who have supported the department or made major, significant contributions to the cause of law enforcement. We're Tim Cook, Sharon Yan, Terry Snyder, and Linda Gerard. Please come up and join me. To the hot seat. In the days of tight budgets, we all live and die by the mantra of work smarter, not harder. The next award exemplifies observing this idea. One part of police work that is often overlooked but extremely important is the paperwork. Two very important parts of the paperwork we deal with every day are traffic citations and warrants. For years, the process was unchanged. Write a ticket, send it to court. Get the warrant from the court, have it entered and maintain it until the person is arrested. The process was unchanged, but it was far from perfect. Handwritten and delivered tickets could have errors and cause delay in being entered. Warrants that have to travel from the court to the police agency cause delay in the system. If they are not removed properly, in the case of false arrest, it could certainly happen. In 2012, after extensive planning, the 72nd District Court in St. Clair County implemented two programs to improve the accuracy and efficiency of these systems. The electronic ticket program was implemented by the court, which purchased a printer for every police agency in our county. They also took the necessary steps in their office to get the project in place. Tickets are now downloaded every morning, reducing errors and saving valuable time. The second program is the court-entered warrant process. Because of their hard work, warrants are now entered straight from court to Michigan's lien system and removed as soon as a person is arraigned. This system saves countless hours of officers' time and staff, makes warrants for wanted persons immediately available, and greatly reduces the potential for mistakes in the arrest of wanted individuals. For their hard work that led to significant contributions to the cause of good law enforcement, the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office is proud to present civilian commendations to Tim Cook. Come forward, Tim. Sharon Young. Carrie Snyder. And Linda Gerard. Would Jerry Lester please join me at the podium? Come closer, Jerry. A big part of the St. Clair County Intervention Detention Center is the intervention. It's in our name right in front of the building. We have multiple programs designed to assist inmates in changing what behavior led them to jail in the first place. Some of the programs are taught by staff that are paid to perform these valuable services. This is not the case with our spiritual program, and that takes place at our jail. Over the years, we've had a long list of clergy who have come and gone, but we have two gentlemen who have stood the test of time. And Bill Johnson, who is not able to join us tonight, and Jerry Lester, have been dedicated to their calling through the many changes that our facility has gone through. They're described as dedicated, private individuals that do not seek any recognition for what they do. In an effort to thank Bill Johnson for 36 years of service and Jerry Lester for 33 years of service, the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office is proud to present the department's civilian commendation. That's a long time, and we have many chaplains that come and go, but I'll tell you, 33 years is wonderful, and there's a lot of individuals that have touched. When you think of 500 inmates in that facility, a lot of people. St. Clair County Sheriff's Office recognizes acts of bravery conducted by citizens with a civilian citation. The citation can be presented for the solution of a serious crime, the apprehension of dangerous criminals, or other meritorious acts, such as life-saving and or the assistance to an officer with disregard for the recipient's personal safety. I will now present the civilian citation. Would Michelle Lowe and Michael Palmer please join me? For most of us, the thought of death is a situation and a nightmare that we hope we'll never have to confront. For Michael Palmer and Michelle Lowe, that nightmare came true on October 22nd, 2012. It was what seemed a normal school day at Central Middle School when two 6th grade students responded to Mrs. Lowe that there was a girl in the bathroom who was having some sort of medical emergency and she was having trouble breathing. Mrs. Lowe went to check on the girl and did find that she was in distress. Mrs. Lowe called for some assistance, and Mr. Palmer responded. Things went from bad to worse when the student passed out. 911 was called and contacted, and with help on the way, but the situation became dire when Mrs. Lowe and Mr. Palmer realized that the student had stopped breathing. Quickly, Mr. Palmer and Mrs. Lowe started life-saving CPR on the student. Shortly thereafter, first responders from Port Huron Township Fire Department did arrive and take over. We were very happy to report that the student was transported to the hospital where she was treated and made a full recovery. She was able to return to school the very next day. For their life-saving efforts that led to a child having another chance at a future, St. Clair County Sheriff's Office is proud to present Mr. Michael Palmer with the department civilian citation. And Mrs. Michelle Lowe with the Department of Civilian Citation. Captain Bliss, you step forward. Our next awards are for our Corrections Division. Captain Bliss.
Thank you, Sheriff. Welcome, everyone. I now have the distinct pleasure of presenting unit commendation and the Department Citation for Corrections. Individual and unit commendations excuse me, may be awarded in recognition for outstanding police service by any individual or department unit, and may also be presented in addition to an individual award rising out of the same action. The following individuals please report to the podium. Sergeant Kyle Crone, Sergeant Michael LeBeau, Deputy Greg Bauer, Deputy Richard Kaminsky, Deputy Tim Hayden, Deputy Matt Nieder, Deputy Matt Zelke, Deputy Patty Muxlow, former Deputy Jared Gilman, and Nurse Catherine Frizzle. Many times inmates are remanded to the custody of the St. Clair County Jail, and they've reached what they feel is the end of their rope. They feel that they have nothing more to lose and that suicide may be a possible option. The corrections and community mental health staff work hard to convince them that they are wrong and to keep them safe and secure within their confines. On October 20th, 2012, one such inmate being housed in the F-pod at the jail had made comments to other inmates that he wanted to end it all, and on that morning made an attempt to follow through on those threats. The inmate had taken a razor and sliced deeply into his forearm. He immediately started to bleed, as you can imagine. Deputy Greg Bauer, who was on duty in F-pod at the time, and throughout his duties, discovered the injured inmate and immediately called for help over the radio and ran to the officer's station to gather some towels and so forth to put pressure on it and stop the bleeding. Quickly, other officers began to arrive at the pod. Each of them had a job to do, and they knew what it was. As they went into action, some went to assist the injured inmate, others helped lock down the other inmates within the pod to keep it secure in an orderly fashion, while others contacted the dispatch for an ambulance to dispatch the ambulance and prepare the inmate for transport to the hospital. Nurse Kate Frizzle arrived at the pod, who was from the medical unit, and took over treatment of the inmate. She confirmed that if the inmate was not transported to the hospital, he would continue to bleed and be in serious condition. EMS arrived on the location, the inmate was prepped and sent to the hospital. He was able to be treated and eventually returned to the intervention center. The determination of the inmate to hurt himself can be seen in this instance. What also needs to be recognized is the effort and the teamwork of the corrections deputies that worked to protect him along with the medical staff. Because of their efforts, what could have ended in another senseless death was instead a serious injury that was able to be treated. For their teamwork, conscientiousness, dedication to service, the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office presents the following with a unit commendation. Sergeants Crone and LeBeau, who were unable to attend tonight. Deputy Bauer also was unable. Deputy Kaminsky, Hyde, Deputy Nieder, Deputy Zelke, Deputy Muxlow, Deputy Gilman, and Nurse Frizzle. Thank you so much. The department citation is awarded to a deputy sheriff for outstanding contributions to law enforcement, to success of a difficult police program, project, or situations such as contribution being made at a high degree of professional excellence. or other outstanding actions which may bring credit to the department or its members. I would now like to present the Department of Citation. Deputy Bill Farr, please come forward to the podium. Presenting a positive image is more than an important facet of law enforcement agency. Deputies on the street are in the public eye. You see the familiar patrol car riding down the street, but many people have no idea what goes on behind the walls of a correctional facility. Deputy Bill Farr has worked hard to change that. Since our facility opened in 2005, hundreds upon hundreds of individuals have toured the jail. And for their benefit, most of them had the opportunity to have Bill as their tour guide. As one member of he was also a member of the team that was tasked with opening the jail, so therefore Bill knows the ins and outs of the procedures there, the facility itself, and no one better to conduct these tours. With that knowledge and his easygoing, friendly attitude, Deputy Farr shows our guests how that we keep the inmates secure in the jail in an efficient operating manner. To quote part of a thank you letter received from the office, that I might add many thank you letters we get when Bill does a tour. This quote is, "Bill Farr once again was a fantastic guide. There were many questions raised, which were addressed professionally and answered thoroughly. For his continued professionalism, positive attitude, willingness to go the extra mile, the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office is proud to present Deputy William Farr to the Department of Citation." This time I'd like to welcome Under Sheriff Thomas Buckley to the podium.
Thank you, Captain. I'd like to welcome everybody as well. It's good to see everybody here tonight supporting our office. I would like to now present the Department's unit commendations. With the following officers, please report. Sergeant Joseph Platzer, Detective Brian Kerrigan, Detective Stephen Sermon, Officer Jeremy Young, Deputy Martin Stoyan, Lieutenant Richard Molso, Sergeant Jim Spatafor, Deputy Mike Verwise, Deputy Jason Skelba, Officer Nick Godwin, Detective Kelsey Wade, Border Patrol Agent Mike Awe, Lieutenant Matthew Paulus, Detective Stephen Rickard, and Detective Stacy Tunich. Unfortunately, we have a few of those who are not able to join us tonight. Breaking and entering is a crime that has overwhelmed our county. Often we find that the perpetrators are drug-addicted individuals who are stealing from hardworking citizens to support their habit. This was not the case with a particular investigation in 2012. In early 2012, a disturbing trend was developing in the north end of Port Huron and the townships that surrounded the area. B&Es were occurring at an alarming rate, and something was different about these cases. The reports had a different feel in the way they were coming in and the way that they were happening. They would stop for periods of time and then start up again seemingly at random. It wasn't until a lead that was developed by the members of the Major Crimes Unit that the investigators caught a break. The suspects had made an uncharacteristic slip-up, and the investigators were ready. With suspects in their sights, the teams from the Major Crimes Unit, Drug Task Force, and detectives from the Sheriff's Office began what would turn out to be an extensive surveillance. The suspects were professionals. They spent hours searching out their victims and making sure that everything was right before they struck. Their meticulousness and caution made the surveillance extremely difficult for the investigators. On many occasions, one of the suspects would drop off the other, who would wander on foot from street to street and house to house, looking for the right opportunity. Many times the suspects would simply walk away, leaving officers with what must have felt like a wasted shift. But they knew that in the end, they were on the right track and their time would not be wasted. One night during the multiple week surveillance, they were able to put an end to the breaking and enterings by this pair. The suspects had returned to a neighborhood that they had been casing earlier in the day. One of the suspects was again out on foot and approaching a house. Officers from the surveillance team were able to hide in a wooded area and observe him leaving with property from the house he had just broken into. Once they knew that the crime had been committed, they moved in. The husband and wife team were taken into custody. Through interrogation and searches, most of all teamwork, the investigators were able to tie the suspects to over 30 B&Es in the area. The thorough and professional investigation led to both suspects pleading guilty to their crimes. Lisa Thibodeau pled guilty to 15 counts, which included aiding and abetting home invasion, firearms charges, conspiracy, and conducting a criminal enterprise, and was sentenced to 5 to 20 years in prison. Brian Thibodeau pled guilty to 35 counts, 31 of which were for home invasion, and he was sentenced to 26 to 40 years. Incidentally, I checked, his earliest release date is 2067, so he's going to be gone for a little while. For their painstaking work, the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office is proud to present unit commendation to the members of the St. Clair County Sheriff, Port Huron Police Department Major Crime Unit, and members of the St. Clair County Drug Task Force and St. Clair County Detective Bureau. Awards are presented to Sergeant Joseph Platzer, Detective Brian Kerrigan, Officer Jeremy Young, Sergeant Jim Spatafor, Deputy Mike Verwise, Deputy Jason Skelba, Officer Nick Godwin, Lieutenant Matthew Paulus, Detective Stephen Ricker, and Border Patrol Agent Mike Hall. I would now like to present an individual commendation with Special Agent Robert Smith. Please join me at the podium. Agent Smith is our good friend from the Drug Enforcement Agency. Aside from this case, he also puts in a lot of work in St. Clair County and helps our department greatly. Methamphetamine is a growing epidemic and St. Clair County has not been immune. This fact did not go unnoticed by the United States Drug Enforcement Agency and the St. Clair County Drug Task Force. Based on our preliminary information, an investigation was initiated by Agent Robert Smith and Detective Kelsey Wade. This investigation took several months and thousands of hours of intense, exhaustive effort. Suspects were put under surveillance, associations were determined, and mountains of pharmaceutical logs were reviewed. Eventually, the investigators were able to put the pieces together and uncovered what was an extremely large underground network for the production of methamphetamine in St. Clair County. In early 2012, the extended investigation by those two agencies culminated in the execution of multiple search and arrest warrants in St. Clair and Sanilac counties. The warrants resulted in the location of a working meth lab, the arrest of 30 persons, and 40 federal indictments. For their dedicated work that shut down an expanding methamphetamine operation, the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office is proud to present DEA Special Agent Robert Smith and, unfortunately, St. Clair County Sheriff Detective Kelsey Wade, who couldn't be here, with the department commendation. I'd like to now welcome up Captain Ron Muxlow.
The St. Clair County Sheriff's Office Certificate of Merit is awarded for outstanding performance of duty under unusual or difficult conditions. The actions need not involve exposure to physical danger, but must the protection of life and property and involve unusual thoroughness, conscientiousness, determination, and initiative. and may also be awarded for notorious action of nature which would not be eligible for a higher award, or to a law enforcement officer of another agency while aiding, assisting, or working in conjunction with the deputy sheriff of the awarding department. Would Dive Chief Wayne Doucet, Dive Tender Mark Peltier, and Diver Robert Gonzer please report? Training days, by definition, are for practice and preparation for real-life events. Dive practice set for October 14th, 2012 was anything but. As the St. Clair County Sheriff Dive Team was working in the cold waters of the St. Clair River near Pine Grove Park, Dive Chief Wayne Doucet noticed that something was wrong. A woman was walking down a steep embankment to the river's edge, an area where not many people walk. The woman threw something into the river and then walked into the water. Chief Doucet quickly put his team into action. He called for a rescue swimmer and a boat operator. Diver Robert Gonzer and dive tender Mark Peltier responded. With Mark driving the dive boat, and was manned by Robert and Wayne, they made their way to the woman who was now struggling in deep water. Mark kept the boat near the woman while Robert entered the water to assist her. Robert kept her above water while Wayne threw a ring buoy to assist. Once she was secured, Robert and Wayne pulled her on board the dive boat. The woman was obviously distraught and hypothermic. The team immediately started for the shore while Wayne contacted dispatch for EMS. Once on shore, they turned the woman over to EMS and she was transported to Fort Erie Hospital to be treated for hypothermia. If not for the quick reaction by the team, the woman would have certainly been taken by the cold sweat water of the St. Clair River and drowned. For their actions, the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office is proud to present Dive Chief Wayne Doucet, Diver Robert Gonzer, and Dive Tender Mark Peltier with the Office Certificate of Merit. Would Deputy Nathan Welch please join me at the podium? On February 29, 2012, Deputy Nathan Welch was on his way into the office to start another shift. While he was heading in, he had his portable radio on, listening what the rest of the shift was working on. It was a busy morning with multiple calls coming in. Cars were sliding off the road right and left. One particular car slid off the road somewhere near Green Road in western St. Clair County. The problem was the caller was not sure exactly where she was. She knew where she had last turned, but not where she had gone after that. To make matters worse, the caller was telling dispatch that the ditch she had gone in was filled with deep water. The caller could not advise how deep, but she could not open her doors. Dispatch continued to gather information from the caller to try and pinpoint her location. They would give out the info as it came in. Deputy Welch was monitoring the situation and realized that he was near where the caller thought she was. He contacted dispatch and advised that he was nearby and would check the area. Between dispatch's information and Deputy Welch checking the area, the car in the ditch was eventually found. Deputy Welch, again off duty, did not hesitate to help the woman in need. He was able to get into her car and help her to safety. Because she had been in the car for some time and was wet, the woman was extremely cold and starting to show signs of hypothermia. Deputy Welch took the woman to his personal vehicle, placing her inside to warm up. Shortly thereafter, fire and EMS arrived at location and took over the care of the woman. For his initiative and efforts in unusual circumstances, the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office proudly presents the Certificate of Merit to Deputy Nathan Welch. I would now like to present individual commendations to Deputy Gary Antilla and Deputy George Maskey. Would you please report? On February 16, 2012, Deputies George Maskey and Gary Antilla was assigned to attend the County Board of Commissioners meeting at the County Building. Controversial topics were on the agenda and the crowd was expected to be large. The deputies anticipated that they may have to deal with an irate citizen or an unruly member of the audience, but they did not expect to be called to provide medical attention. During the meeting, one of the members of the audience experienced what turned out to be a major heart attack. He slumped over in his chair and for a short time went unnoticed. When it was discovered that he was in the midst of a medical emergency, Deputy Antilla and Deputy Maskey immediately went to assist. They cleared some room and began to check for vital signs. Finding that he was not breathing and appeared to have no pulse, they called for medical assistance and then began CPR. They continued to try to revive the man until rescue crews from Tri-Hospital EMS arrived and took over. Sometimes the best intentions and efforts do not translate into the intended outcome. That was the case on this February evening. Despite the quick response and the concerted efforts, the man was not able to survive the attack. For their actions, the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office presents Deputy Gary Antilla and Deputy George Maskey the department's commendation. The Department Life-Saving Award recognizes notable acts of service or extraordinary skill that saves a life. The acts need not involve risk to the individual. With the following people, please report. Deputy Greg Doan is unable to be here tonight. Deputy Edward Silver. Deputy Paul Smith. Firefighter Frank Bailey. This was Officer Paul Smith, right? The call of a fire at Clair Township apartment building went out on December 11, 2012 at 10 minutes to 8 in the morning. Deputies Greg Doan and Ed Silver were just clearing a traffic stop on the north end of the city of Algonac when they heard the call. Clair Township dispatch did update the call, stating that there were individuals trapped in the building. The deputies knew that they were close and responded to see if they could assist in any way. Upon arrival, they met up with the Clair Township Police Officer Paul Smith and firefighter Frank Bailey. Residents in the driveway told the responders that there were people trapped in the building. The four went to the west side of the complex and found a woman trying to get out of a window. She was screaming for help and could not get herself free of the fire. With the fire raging, the four made repeated attempts to get her out of the apartment. They had to completely break out the window and were finally able to pull her out of the apartment through the window. They took her away from the fire to safety. It was then that she told them that her roommate was still in the apartment. Disregarding their own safety, they went back to the apartment and attempted to find the woman's roommate. All four made repeated attempts to get back into the apartment to find the missing woman. Unfortunately, due to the intense heat and smoke, they could not enter the building. It was later learned that the woman's roommate could not get out of the building and perished in the fire. The fire that morning was intense. The woman at the window was unable to get herself out of the apartment. Had it not been for the heroism of Deputies Doan and Silver, Officer Smith, and firefighter Bailey, this would have resulted in the death of both women. For their life-saving actions, the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office is proud to present the life-saving commendations to Deputies Greg Doan, who is unable to be here, Deputy Edward Silver, Officer Paul Smith, and firefighter Frank Bailey. this time, I would like to turn the podium back over to Sheriff O'Donnell.
By demonstrating the values that we stand for in our everyday work, our home life, we become a true leader in our community. Everyone being recognized tonight has taken upon themselves to lead the way with great professionalism and dependability. They have given more of themselves than what is required. They have been a team player amongst their peers. They have stepped outside their comfort zone to protect someone else. They have gone that extra mile to provide aid to a citizen or a coworker. They stand up by motivating others to perform at their best, leading others by example. Through their dedication and commitment as a law enforcement officer, corrections deputy, first responder, teacher, and pastor, or by offering a helping hand to someone in need, they've gone above and beyond the call of duty. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules and supporting the outstanding men and women of this community. This concludes our presentation tonight. We do have refreshments, and we would hope that somebody will stay around for those who will have to eat them tomorrow with the office. So, thank you so much for coming.